The information discussed on Talkin Money with Jeff Tarbell is believed to be from reliable sources. However, no responsibility is assumed for inaccuracies. No statement made on this broadcast should be construed as a specific recommendation of a particular investment product. Views expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent those of CBS Radio. Use only as directed.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles. And prepare yourself for...
Show me the money!
Ladies and gentlemen, the radio broadcast experience designed to keep your wallet in top condition. It's Talkin Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Talkin Money. Talkin Money.
More money, more money, more money.
And now entering the studio, your guru for fiscal fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
How's everybody doing? We are here. I am here, live in the studio.
I'm
Jeff.
here.
Jeff's sitting on his couch.
No, I am not. I'm sitting on my lawnmower. I got to start double dipping here and getting two things done at one time.
Nice.
How does my headset sound here?
Sounds good.
If I could do like a Wi-Fi type show, I cut the grass. See, now this is the problem, John. That as I mentioned, I know you know this, but maybe I mentioned on the air. My wife, went back to work about a week and a half ago. As you know.
Yes.
Would it be too soon to ask her to quit? is that a sample, a good sample period of time? Is a good 10-day? I know she loves it. No, she's totally into it.
I think it depends which college the girls decide to go to.
Well, that may be. So we'll get into all that as well as John's in the studio and I'm in my studio here too, trying to get a few things done today. How are you doing? How are you doing down there? What's happening with there? What's on the mind of Christopher Law today? We cannot skip past him.
He's got a nice fancy new shirt though.
Let me guess, it's a soccer shirt.
It is. It's actually quite nice though. He's stepping up a little bit.
What is it, Chris?
I just said that you had a good guess.
Oh yeah. I could have an aneurysm and I would still get that right. What's on your mind there, big boy?
Well, as everyone knows, and we just talked about it, I'm a huge soccer fan, and MLS is expanding teams, and the areas that they're doing it are kind of weird. The one before was Miami, and Miami is known as a terrible sports town. Like, even when the Heat are good, they can't sell out. Second, I would have to say, and then the second one is Atlanta, also known as a terrible sports town, where when their teams make the playoffs, they don't show up to the games. But I guess if you have money, you could get a team. So it appears there's only one more left. So hopefully Sacramento can get that last MLS expansion team. So,
and that's just for this year, or is it forever?
So they're going to start in a couple of years, and it's just iffy because, like, what if nobody shows? Are you going to stay there? These towns are building stadiums for them. They've got to stay there. So, a little scary.
Wow. So we're in the final slot potentially.
Possibly.
Well, that would be cool. I think maybe we don't need that just yet. Maybe we can get out and prove with Sacramento Republic that we can get that done. I know I shared with John. I don't know if I put that everywhere or not. My new favorite soccer. Did you see that, John?
Yes, that's awesome.
Does that not look like now? See, that I would go watch. I don't know if anybody caught that this week. There was I want to say it was out of Italy. It was just kind of an intramural type of a fun thing. But basically, I don't know, how would you describe it, John? They were in.
I think they called it bubble soccer. So you wear this big bubble about a 8-foot circumference around your body with your legs sticking out.
Yeah, you look like one of the Oompa Loompas from, because all you see is about 4 inches of basically knee and foot, and then John's right, you're in this huge bubble thing, and basically you just haul ass as fast as you can and try to take the guy out in front of you, and he will literally go tumbling down the thing. It was hilarious. So
there's no slide tackling. It's just you're both balls bounce and the guy's all ping.
And every time you see that, you think, okay, one of these guys is going to break their neck, and then you realize, well, that's not possible because they're completely entombed in this big plastic bubble thing. So you got to find that if you haven't seen it, because it was hilarious.
Yeah, bubble soccer out of Italy.
Out of Italy. Hey, while we're on the sports topics, we always seem to start there, so I'll keep going with that for just a minute. Now, what have you seen out of the golf world that is new? And I don't mean their equipment, because obviously you're always seeing the new greatest. And you have a driver now that's the size of a Ford vehicle to hit a golf ball with now. Even with that, I still can't hit the damn thing straight. At least I can hit it a mile to just go a mile in a circle back around and hit me in the back of the head. But they are. Let's see, which company is this? It is TaylorMade. Is selling a product called the Par-Aid. So P-A-R, second word A-I-D-E, Par-Aid. So your average golf cup for putting is about 4.25 inches, which might as well be 0 inches because I can't hit it anyway.
Right.
But they did a tour or a sample game yesterday. Sergio Garcia played in it and a bunch of different people, and they widened the cup to 15 inches.
Now we're talking.
Think about that now for a minute.
Basketball hoop.
Just about. And the TaylorMade is going to sell these to golf courses. The thought is that so many people like myself who just play once and forever, or these corporate events or these corporate tournaments, or these all the tournaments that are raising money. There's so many of them they'll start firing up here pretty soon. All these different tournaments for different things.
Yep.
It's taking and using the 15-inch cup on the course for everybody but decent golfers, and so they did a couple sample tours, and people loved it. I mean, they compared to kind of play, they said, well, it's not real golf, and they kind of compared it to like playing horse, when you're basketball. Well, horse is not real basketball, but it's still fun.
Sure. And
it's still challenging. So don't be surprised if you see at your public course, and particularly if you're out at some sort of a benefit type of a golf tournament, if you don't whip up there and see a 15-inch a golf cup at the end, because what they're trying to do is just bring people who are not your everyday golfers into the game. And I would say that probably that's actually not a bad idea.
I like the idea.
Yeah, I mean, you get down there, you got to make a 30-foot putt, and
I got this.
There's a chance you might make it. And they're worried about just all the lag time of people are just sitting around waiting, and it just slows things down, and it makes people not want to play. And so anyway, I thought it was thinking outside the box, which I think is pretty cool. So we'll see if that comes around the 15-inch golf. When they get to 15 inches would probably work. I need maybe like the whole green to be just like a hole. Just chip it up in there and it falls
swimming
in the holes.
Pool.
If they could just slope all the ground down to it, like they do at the miniature golf courses, that would be ideal for me. I still have to find my ball out of the trees though, so that's part of the problem. I mentioned during the break that we've had a saying in our house here that on Easter Sunday Jesus has rose back from the grave to come back. And if Jesus could come back to life on Easter Sunday, my daughter could figure out which college she wants to go to before Easter Sunday. And albeit she finally made a decision, and as I was looking at the newspaper this morning, I see I see a confirmation of my theory all along.
That's right.
Did you see that on the UC study?
Front page of today's paper.
Yeah, do you have it in front of you there?
I do.
Okay. So if you look at and this has been one of my pet peeves, or I have so many pet peeves that they're just now just like rules. This is how I live.
You got issues.
Everything just irritates the crap out of me. So it doesn't really matter. This is just one of them on the list. There's a good article this morning in the Sacramento newspaper about the UC system and how to what it takes to get into college, who's accepting people, and more importantly where they're coming from. And John, if you look at that bar chart and you start looking at, I think they have people listed as what, inside California, outside California, international. Was there a fourth category that I'm missing?
I think that was it.
Anyway, this kind of the summary of the story, which is what we knew all along, is your average enrollee in a California UC system who is paying out-of-state tuition, or I guess probably even international tuition, is paying about $22,000 a year more. So you think about that. I mean, these are schools that, since when does a business, forget it's a school, since when does a business says, hey, I've got this many customers knocking on my door. Well, most businesses will say, well, we need to figure out how to get those customers in the door. So we got to work weekends, we got to work evenings, we've got to hire some more staff, we got to do something. But it seems like the colleges just say, well, we got all these people that want to come to our business, but we'll just take this number of people, and then we'll gripe and moan about how we don't have enough money to get by. So I for one, I don't understand why they don't expand. And maybe you could say they don't have enough room on the college facility, but most college classes are like, I could be wrong, but it seems like most of them are over by 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Why isn't there a nighttime schedule of classes? Why isn't there classes on the weekend? I mean, if you're a UC student, so does it matter if you go Monday through Friday? Could you go Wednesday through Sunday? Could you have some classes in the evening, some classes during the day if you wanted to go to that school? I don't that part I don't get. This part I do get though. So if you're sitting there at the admissions office and you've got to pick between John and myself, and John's coming from Pennsylvania and he's willing to pay $22,000 a year more than me, they say it doesn't happen. You know what happens,
right?
They're taking, if John and I are equal candidates, they're taking John's money, and I just firmly believe it. But anyway, the report shows, and you look at the bar graph there in the red, John, the one people, acceptance from out of state, and it's in most of those campuses, it's pretty dominant in terms of the out of state students, growth from the out of state students. And you look at that report, UCLA and Berkeley. And let's face it, if you get in there, you might as well go play the lottery too, because they're accepting like nobody. San Diego, some other schools are on that list as well. So it was
they're definitely holding back a bit.
Interesting report. That was just for the UCs, not the state schools, and obviously not the private schools. So, but there you have it. We've made a college decision, and of course, it's damn near as far as you can get away from home. As one of my daughters is going to go to New York for at least a couple years and try that out. So here I am. I'm figuring, okay, now I had the whole San Diego thing figured out. If we're going to go to school, I know how to get to San Diego. You could either drive or fly fairly easily. But New York, not so easy, not so quick. So I thought I would look online and get myself set up with the TSA pre-check system. Are you familiar with that, John?
I am a little bit. Actually, it was in the paper, I believe, that they're looking for more people to get through quickly. Yes, so I had started on this route a couple of years ago, and what I wanted to do was I didn't realize early on that you, in the initial part of the system, you had to be invited to join the system. So you had to be, one of the airlines had to identify you as a frequent flyer or one of their, preferred customers, and they had to basically invite you in. I didn't know that, so I had tried to sign up through another system, the global entry system, which is only if you're traveling abroad. And, I've been outside the country like 1.5 times in my life, so that wasn't going to save me a whole lot of time. Right.
So I kind of dropped it. So I did pick it back up yesterday and started looking around a little bit to see. And I noticed, you notice when you're traveling now that sometimes that TSA pre-check line is longer than the line you're in. So you start wondering, and I think that's the problem they're having, John, a little bit, is there's a perception is like it really isn't that much faster when you look over there and you see, 50 people in line at the pre-check line, and you're in a shorter line. But
it'd be nice to not have to take your shoes off every time, though.
Well, I think that will change too. What they're kind of in a conundrum there a little bit. They want to expand it to more airports and more lines, but they need to be able to show, hey, we've got more people that want to use it. So, which comes first? Well, usually with the government, you spend your money and then hope people will show up. I'm actually surprised, but this is actually run through kind of a guy who was in the regular business world, so he's actually trying to make it work. But here's kind of the deal. So if you're thinking about it, yeah, John mentioned the benefits. No need to remove your shoes, belt, jackets, small volume liquids, or laptop computer. You go through a metal detector instead of a body scanner. Their goal at TSA is 5 minutes or less for the pre-check security lines. And in regular security lines, and 99% of the passengers last year waited about 20 minutes. So that's a pretty significant difference if you can make through. And here's the number, John. Only about 170,000 people. This is nationwide now. 170,000 travelers have signed up for pre-check since it was for kind of an open enrollment since December. So that's there's only about 1.2 million on there to begin with. So that's not a lot of people.
No, it's not.
Here's the airlines. If you fly these airlines, these are the ones that will use the system. Alaska, American, Delta, Hawaiian, JetBlue, Southwest, United, U.S. Airways, and Virgin America. I'm trying to figure out who they left off the list. I don't know. Anyway, so that's most of your big ones. And so what you do, because and here's part B of the frustration of it. So you go on, just Google TSA PreCheck, which is what I did, and it'll say pick an area. They want to make sure that there's an office near you. And for those of you that are listening around here, where John is sitting on Madison Avenue, you can throw a rock and hit one of the offices on Chippendale Drive. I actually used to, I was the property manager for that building for years. So I know where they're at. There's one on Sunrise Vista out here, and then they're all over the place. I mean, in California, they're everywhere. And you used to have to travel to like an international airport, like a San Francisco or something, but you don't. So you fill out the form online. You do have to have a passport or a driver's license and birth certificate, those kind of things too, and you pay $85. The challenge is that when you go in there, it says pick an appointment and pick your location, and it comes back and says there's no appointments available. They don't even give you an option, so you just have to click the little box that you'll walk in, which has got to be similar to a DMV experience,
right?
I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
But anyway, if you can figure out a time and to do that, you probably will save yourself a fair amount of money. It's $85 for 5 years, and they really are trying to recruit people to get into it. So I think we're going to try it and see how that goes. But there's one program where they're actually trying to actively get you involved in the system a little bit. We've got to speaking of getting involved here, this just disgusts me. This is why I use my debit card, John. So make sure I think from now on, at least for me, when I start handling, I very rarely have any money on me. I just don't carry any cash. A, I don't have any, and B, it seems like if I carry it, it just seems to disappear. So I seem to almost use my credit card for just about everything, and I don't even use a debit card when I go out because I don't want people access to my account. So I use a credit card and pay later. But think about this while you're eating your breakfast this morning. If you're handling your money. The NYU researchers identified, they took 2 sample $1 bills, just 2 bills, out of the system. Just grabbed $2 bills and put them in their lab at NYU, and they did a little bacteria sample on the dollar bill. And I'll get to you why they're doing this in a little bit. Total DNA found on 2 $1 bills, 1.2 billion with a B, billion segments of DNA. And the percentage of it that was human was less than half. So I'm not sure what some of you are doing with your dollar bills or where you're doing it. There was 54 million segments of bacterial DNA. And let's see here, antibiotic-resistant infections, skin infections, staph infections, foodborne illness, E. coli, gastric ulcers, and diphtheria. So I am not going to be putting a dollar bill in my mouth, maybe not even in my hand anytime soon.
Gastric ulcers?
Yes, gastric
on the dollar
ulcer.
Bill. Yeah.
Right. So if the dinner you had didn't give you gas, the money you paid with it probably will. So, and the reason I bring this up is because A, it's disgusting and it's related to money, and B, they are looking at some different ways of maybe changing the dollar bill again. Not necessarily the design, but the material, and maybe some countries use more of a polymer or basically a plastic type of a bill, which seems to be more less able to hold on to some of these skin infections and food poisoning and gastric ulcers. So they're looking at maybe the possibilities of should we be changing our dollar bill material from kind of this cotton blend to something else. So that was an interesting article. But I think, John, you had a quiz question that was like money related, didn't you? Maybe we should jump into that in the first break.
That's going to be our first quiz question.
All right. Well, it's about break time, so why don't we? I'm not hungry anymore. That's for darn sure. But what do you got on your quiz plate there? And by the way, I still have a few books. The Money Nerve, which is Bob Wheeler, CPA, is a really great book. Let me look at it here. It's only like 130.
Easy read, easy, simple.
Yeah, 130 pages. Very, very easy. I mean, just very simple. Things you can do for yourself, things you can teach your kids. Just very, very good. And I asked Bob to sign all the copies he sent me. So I've got, we can do a couple copies of that book today too if we want that out there. Got some River Cats baseball and some Round Table pizza. The good part is all those you don't have to pay any money. They all free. So you can keep your dirty money in your dirty pocket there. So what's your quiz question there, Rookie?
That's right. So the Federal Reserve makes money every year, as we know. They actually make a lot of money.
You mean like they print money, you mean?
They print money, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Like to replace the dollar bills that we threw in the trash.
That's right.
Okay.
The ones that need to be shredded and thrown away.
Yes, burned.
So the question is, how much does the Federal Reserve spend annually making, printing, producing, call it what you want, our money in the system? What is the cost of making this new money? I'm going to tell you that we produce $297 billion worth of paper. That is money every year. So $297 billion is made. What is the cost to produce and make that money?
Okay. We'll take that. We'll just take a couple of the nearest ones, and it's, believe me, if any of us just had the budget for 1 year, that we'd have a lot of money.
We'd be just fine.
So how much does the U.S. Fed spend actual cost to produce $297 billion worth of notes each year? And that probably also includes their coins as well. I know they produce. Don't be surprised if we don't just dump the penny soon. Because I think it ends up costing like a nickel to make a penny. It's something ridiculous.
Exactly.
But so anyway, John's question: how much are we spending annually to make $297 billion of replacement notes every year? If you know the answer, or you want to just throw one out there, go right ahead. 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140. Is the text machine working there, Johnny?
Text machine is fired up and ready to go.
44-1140 if you want to text us. And your choice, the Money Nerve book, some Round Table Pizza, or Sacramento Rivercats baseball. My name's Jeff Tarbell.
This is John Fotorero.
And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right
back, Jack.
Talkin' money.
Well, alrighty then. We're back to Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
All right. Good morning. Everybody awake now? And we gave you a little extra time to wake up this morning.
I'm looking at my dollar bills here. They don't look.
Are you
nasty.
touching them?
No, I'm just looking at them from a distance here. There's one in there with a moth in my wallet, and that's it. So did you get a winner to your disgusting? Oh no, mine was the disgusting segment. Yours was the money segment there. What did you get a winner to your quiz?
Yes, we did.
So how much is the U.S. spending to basically make bills and coins?
It costs us $826 million a year to make our money.
Jeez.
$826 million to produce the money here annually.
Let me think about that. I have to do that quick in my head here. So 8 times 3. So that's I think that's about 3% of what we actually produce. If I do that real fast in my head. So not 3% of what we're producing goes to producing it. So there you go. I did look at another article. So the worldwide, governments spend about $10 billion with a B, $10 billion annually to provide people with notes that are fit to hold. And you start thinking about where we are going and how tough it is for governments to find money, and we have to keep taxing, and where can we save money? And it's not too far off to think that there is some day where the governments may say, you know what, we're not printing dollars anymore, or if we do, you have to buy them. I mean, think about that, having to buy a dollar, not for $1, but maybe for $1.10, or if it costs 3% to produce it, maybe $1, and 3 cents or something like some sort of a premium. If you want to buy and hold actual cash, you may have to pay a premium to do that. And think about it from a pure money law. So what is the government worried about? They don't want all cash transactions. They don't want people changing money, which is why I think maybe you see the Bitcoin people sprout up, and why people hold gold and silver and other things too, because if the currency takes a dump, they have something else to do. But I mean, it's easy to envision. I mean, $10 billion a year worldwide is spent just producing a piece of paper that we can all handle around. Well, there's a cost for that, and you can foresee the government one day saying, you know what, forget it. We're not going to be in the business of producing something that's convenient for you. We'll electronically transfer your pay here and here, and you can pay electronically, and here's your debit card, and you don't actually physically have to touch a dollar bill. And if you're a retailer, you don't accept anything but cash, then I guess you're going to pay a premium for that. I mean, I just don't think it's that far of a stretch to see that down the road. I've seen crazier stretches that are in place now that I never thought would happen. So
right.
Anyway, good question, or good question there, Johnny. And So whatever they produce, maybe it'll be just like a solid plastic, like your DMV, like your driver's license. It'll be plastic, so no gunk will stick to it.
Right. Everything goes on it. It just works, and endless money.
Yeah. Or we'll come out with a dollar bill that really is, I think the average, what did it say? The average lifespan of a dollar or of a paper note is only, I thought I saw it somewhere. It was short. It was like a couple and a half years. So maybe if we could double that, just in terms of the lifespan of these notes, we could save ourselves a fair amount of money. But anyway, we'll come back to that. But mark my words, you'll be paying for dollar bills. You'll be paying for everything someday soon.
Paying for money.
Paying for money. I mentioned earlier in the show that my wife, who's gone back to work, has put me into a small amount of mourning here, and I'm only joking because it's a great opportunity for her. But it does bring up a discussion point that I had years and years ago when my wife first stopped working, and that would have been probably, let's see, my oldest daughter's 18, so probably 17 years ago before we had the twins. And I met with a financial advisor who I still have to this day, Colin Grail, and brought up the point of, we were looking back at the time with, one kid or three little babies and the sole provider, and so you got to get some line of life insurance and probably even some disability insurance, because if I get hurt, there, as a self-employed person, there really isn't any backstop for you. But the discussion came up around, this goes way back now, years and years, of you probably should get some life insurance for your wife. And you initially say, or for someone who's not working, you say, well, what am I insuring? I mean, I'm not, there's no income there, so if something were to happen to a spouse that doesn't make income, what am I out? And that's the quick response. You go, oh yeah, well they don't have any income, so there's nothing to insure. But it becomes very clear if you've ever dealt with somebody, particularly a spouse who's a caretaker for your family, how much incredibly amount of time is spent by that individual making sure that things in your house run properly. Now, if it's just the two of you and you don't have any kids and anything, it's probably not as big a deal. But you start having children and other things that go on, and you take. This was a good example of a week where, I had only one child here at home who doesn't yet drive. She gets her license on Monday, and my wife is out of town. And just the running around and taking care of all the little things for one kid, for someone who's self-employed, it takes a tremendous amount of time. And you start to realize pretty quickly that, man, if you had a couple kids and you're by yourself, which doesn't mean it can't be done, but it does take an amount of time out of your schedule. And maybe if you're employed and you have some flexibility and you get paid whether you're there exactly at 9 o'clock and 5, those kind of flexibilities, that's fine. If you're self-employed and you have to pick up the phone every time it rings and you got to be on someone else's schedule, it can be detrimental to your business. So it is something to think about. It was kind of an interesting week, as it kind of really just showed to myself, said, hey, if something happened to your wife and you have kids, there's going to be a change in your life besides the obvious grief factor and everything else that goes with it. Your life, the ability to earn a living for you, the breadwinner, is going to change, and it isn't going to change for the better. That's for damn sure. So for those of you that find yourself in a position where you just ask yourself, what would happen if a non-breadwinning spouse who's taking care of other things is not here anymore? What does that mean for you financially? And because let's be honest, nobody wants to pay for insurance for anything.
Exactly. Until you need it.
Right. Until it's too late and you already missed it. We collectively, all of us are probably insured out the hilt between health insurance and auto insurance and this and that and the other. But for those of you who make your living, particularly I would say for those of you who are self-employed, who need the ability to be flexible and be able to go here when it's time to go here and do the kind of things you do and work those odd, screwy hours that always seem to come with self-employment. It's something to think about, because if you don't think about it now, it'll be too late when it comes time. So it's just something that kind of struck out to me this week as it's kind of an obvious, or not so obvious, but becoming obvious, issue. Now, of course, your kids all go off to college and they'll become adults. Then it's not something you have to worry about again as much. But anyway, it's something to consider as you start managing through things. The thing I've been carrying around for weeks and I haven't had a chance to get to it. I want to get to it this morning before our next break. Is an uncomfortable discussion with your parents. And I guess where this comes from is for whatever reason, and I haven't been able to put my finger on it yet, but the number of reverse mortgage interested people who have contacted me, in the last 6 months, or who have done reverse mortgages with me in the last 6 months, almost exceeds the number I've done probably in the last 2 years, maybe even more, collectively. And a lot of it probably has to do with a couple things. One, we finally have some equity in our houses again. I mean, that's a big thing. And number two, I mean, just look at the statistics. The number of people that go over the age of 62 every single day. I mean, it's our biggest growing population. So those two things by themselves are generating potential clients. But what disturbs me, and what is so sickening in some cases, is the thought process that some of our parents have, and it's interesting. And maybe you're going to sit there and listen to it and go, "Good, I'm glad they think that way. They can leave me everything. I deserve it. I was such a good kid." But if you haven't had the discussion with your parents about what is good for them and what is good for you, and maybe the time you have that discussion is when they actually make a call for a reverse mortgage, or they need to have some sort of assisted care. Maybe that's just the natural time you'll do it. But John, it shocks me how many adult parents, and I'm talking about people that now are generally in their 70s and 80s, who are in pretty tight financial bounds, meaning their income is set. They have maybe some small pension, they certainly have a little bit of Social Security, and some small amount of savings, and that is it. I mean, short of picking the right 6 numbers in the lottery next weekend and something like that, there ain't going to be a change in their income. But there sure as hell is a change in their expenses, right?
Absolutely, every day.
Yeah. I mean, here, look at this. Inflation picks up a little bit. Housing, food, gas. I mean, everything else is going up. Healthcare certainly goes up as you age. If you are lucky, you live to a point and you die. You die on the spot, whatever day that is. I mean, there's no healthcare. They just pick you up and they bury you. But short of that, which doesn't happen real often, there's some sort of ongoing expense and medical expense and pills and you name it. And I come across these individuals who are otherwise very, very smart and intelligent about everything else they do in their lives, and they start talking about the biggest asset that they have, which is generally their home, and in most cases have quite a bit of equity in it. And the cheapest way to live is to stay in your own house. I mean, you can go rent somewhere else, but you're subject to rental increases. If you need health care, if you can have health care in home, it's significantly cheaper than having health care in a facility. I mean, there's no way around it. Staying in your house, if you can, is the best way to do it. And the reverse mortgage does that for you in most cases. But the number of parents, or the adults, retired adults, people that have been on this planet for 70 or 80 years, who tell me, "I don't want to steal from my kids," makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
And you're saying that's the equity position in their home, that they're saying, well, that's there for my kids.
Yeah,
I don't want to take anything from that.
Exactly. So, John, we've got people who are, I mean, maybe let's just take I'll just kind of meld some examples together. But let's say you got someone who's got a total dollar amount coming in their house of $1,800 a month. And even if you own your house free and clear, which a lot of them don't, they have small mortgages. But even if you did, you add up all the expenses and different things they're doing for this and that and the other. They just don't have a lot of extra money. And you go to somebody and say, "Hey, look, I can retire that mortgage you have that's maybe $500 a month of your $1,800 a month. I can retire that. leave you a line of credit available to you that you can tap when you need to. You don't have to take the money and put it in the bank. You may never touch it, but it's sitting there available to you. And what would a third? It's basically a third of their income has been relieved from a debt relief. And they'll look at you and tell you, I just don't want to do that to my kids. Well, first of all, your kids are not 9 and 10. Your kids are 49 and 50. And it is so frustrating. And I'll be honest with you, most of the kids, and I use that in quotes, who are 49 and 50 years old, are don't have any idea that their parents think they're trying to leave them some nominal interest in a house, and are really skimping by. In fact, a lot of times it's the kids that refer them to me. But the reason I bring this up is that I would say in most cases that the parents, the adult reverse mortgage client, has given me that comment up front, and I've asked them, I said, let's have a meeting with your family and your advisor. Let's let them know, take a good look at the financial picture you're in, because a lot of people hold their cards very tight to their chest. I mean, they don't tell their kids they're barely getting by. This is an honest to God truth. I had a client in Stockton one time. I know for a fact she was eating cat food. I know it for a fact. She would not change her position because she wanted to be able to leave her kid some amount of equity in a house in Stockton that ended up going into foreclosure. She didn't get in anyway. And it's so frustrating and so saddening to see that. And in many cases, most of us don't know the position that our parents are in and don't want to bring it up because it's uncomfortable or think it's going to embarrass them. So the reason I bring this up is that please have some discussion or have some working knowledge of what your family, your adult parents are up against. Maybe they're not up against anything. Have a working knowledge that if they think they're trying to leave you something. And I tell this all the time to the people: if you want to leave your kids something, buy an insurance policy.
Right, exactly.
Because I'll be honest, if you're gonna leave your kids your house with an X number of mortgage on it, most people I know can barely afford the mortgage they got. They can't afford your house too. And have to take over those kind of things. So they're going to have to sell it immediately, and then hope they're going to have to sell it. If they have to sell it immediately, what kind of price are they going to get? All these things that go along with it. You don't know what the market's going to be when you're going to die. These are things that are all obscure. But these parents, particularly those that are in that later age bracket, have some obligation to they think they got to leave something to their kids. And I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. As you were talking about life insurance earlier, for your spouse or for yourself, it's always the same conversation. Is once you have that conversation with an advisor, it's that much easier to go, okay, well, we covered that. We need it. We don't. Here's how we're going to get around it. Same with the reverse mortgages. Did you know, mom is eating like this, or mom's behind on this, or most people do not know unless they have that conversation.
Yeah, you're right. And it has to come out in kind of a non-threatening, just kind of a discussion way. Hey, these are the expenses, and this is the fixed income source. You don't have to say, hey, look at this big gap. Most smart people can look at it and go, oh my God, I didn't realize that there was no reserve, or in most cases a negative reserve, meaning they were going into the liquid assets they have. And I'm such a huge proponent of trying to maintain as much liquidity as you can. Your house is illiquid for the most part. So if you can figure out a way to use some of those assets underneath the house and still live there and maintain that cash reserve if possible, I think it's a good position to have in. But I always make sure that there's somebody other than just the borrower who knows what's going on, who's part of the good discussion. Because quite frankly, it ain't worth it to me to have someone come back and say, well, this person talked me into this thing, or I shouldn't have done it, and that's never happened, and it never will. I just won't do it if they feel like this doesn't work for me. But
right, yeah, it's a tool out there, and as we've seen, at our company, there's a lot more activity in that reverse mortgage because it works. It's got a serious use for that product.
It is a niche tool. You're exactly right. It's a niche, not for everybody, but it's a phenomenal tool. So anyway, that's been eating on me for a while, and I wanted to get it up. Speak of eating on me, I'm going to get a little barbecuing this weekend too, I think. But we got another quiz question, John. I want to give out some more books and some more Roundtable Pizza and some more River Cats baseball. We want to get all that out today too. What do you got on your plate down there for your next quiz question?
Yeah, so for quiz question number 2, that we can reach us on the text line at 441140. We're at 339-1140. As far as consumers eating, what are we eating out of the 4 main topics? I'm going to tell you: pork, fish, beef, chicken.
Yeah.
those are top items eaten.
Okay.
The question is, which one of those 4 is the highest and most consumed in the United States of America? What is the most consumed item out of fish, pork, chicken, or beef?
Okay. In the U.S.?
In the U.S., and I can tell you the top one, we eat on average 82 pounds of this per individual a year.
Okay. 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 441140. What are we eating 82 pounds of a year? I'll give you an example. In 1965, we only ate 34 pounds of it. 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 441140. Let me know, by the way, if you want a copy of The Money Nerve, autographed book by Bob Wheeler, CPA. Great book. Very easy to read. Maybe a good book to discuss with your parents some of the things that are going on. We got some River Cats baseball tickets as well, and if you're not into either of those, we got some Round Table Pizza. Your choice. Give us a call. This is Talkin' Money. My name's Jeff Tarbell.
This is John Fotorero, and we're going to be right back. Jack.
Talkin' Money.
And we're back to Talkin' Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
That's right. I can see Jeff banging on the drums right there.
Yeah.
Getting it going. So, hey, before we get started, I got to bring this up because I can see you. I can't see you doing this. I see you in your mind doing this. But did you see this avalanche that occurred?
Up there on the Himalaya one?
Yeah. Did you see that?
No, I saw the news about it.
There's a guy currently from Sacramento that's out there at 21,000 feet looking to be the oldest American to hit the summit and come back down at 68 years old from Sacramento.
Well, that would be easy for me to do because by the time I started at 50-something, I'd be the oldest by the time I got back down. And it'd have to be an avalanche to bring me back down because there's no way I would do that.
I just think it's amazing how many people are out there looking to do something like that and risk their lives in a. But
we have a good buddy in San Diego that travels around and does all those crazy things.
That's right.
I think Say, did we get a winner? By the way,
we did.
My stomach's growling here. So their question was: so we've got beef, chicken, fish, pork. Appetite consumption, U.S. consumption of these products, and one of them, your quiz answer was up 142%. From I guess they go back to a starting point in 1965. So from that point on, where they all basically were equal, because that's your starting point. So
right.
So what was your winner?
The number one answer, or actually the winner, is chicken. So we eat 82 pounds of chicken per year currently. Number 2 was fish, which is a shocker to me. I was originally thinking that would maybe worldwide because I believe there's a lot more fish consumption throughout the world versus here in the U.S. But again, I am wrong.
Fish, say it 5 times fast. Fish and shellfish. Dang it! I need to either start drinking or stop drinking. One of the two. U.S. consumer ate 14.4 pounds. Anyway,
you can do it.
14 pounds of seafood in 2012. By comparison, your average Japanese consumer eats 120 pounds.
Wow.
Your average Spaniard eats 96 pounds. So, yeah. So then you got, what was next on your list?
And then pork. And then beef was number 4, which is down, I believe, off about 23%.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised beef's that low. And fish is dropping a little bit, too. I think just because some of the people were worried about, mercury in the fish and are we fishing out the seas and those kinds of stuff. It's going to get a little bad publicity, I think. But hey, here's what we need to do, John. So if you have a new app coming out, like they have the new Apple satellite map app. So you got Google Earth and Apple's got a satellite map app.
Okay.
So what you do when you do an Apple satellite map app is you dub in the Loch Ness Monster and say that your app found the Loch Ness Monster because that's now blowing up on the internet. That someone thinks they caught a picture of the Loch Ness Monster on the app, which I think is nothing more than creative artwork to get people to find the Apple satellite map app. Just me.
Just a little marketing.
I could be wrong, but I need to come up with my own satellite map app that finds something. I guess they already use a Loch Ness Monster. We'll have to find. Maybe we'll just find beef eaters or something. I don't know. Anyway, that music means we got to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us again today. I'm holding off. I think next week we'll talk about it. I got quite a few mortgage-related things rolling up here. Sacramento back in the paper again for good news this time. In terms of home values are back up, so we can discuss that. You can find the show during the week on our Talkin Money Facebook page, or catch up with John at johnfod.com, jefftarbell.com. That music wraps up. Have a great Easter, everybody. Great weather. And we'll catch up with you guys next Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. And if you won one of our books or our tickets, those kind of things, we'll get those out in the mail to you as well. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you next Saturday, everybody.